Oh, hey, how you doing? Sorry about that. I was just getting my to-do list ready to go for tomorrow. You know how it is, trying to plan things out as best as possible. Speaking of which, a buddy of mine was talking to me yesterday, and it was interesting because he was talking about having conversations with his people and making sure he was accomplishing these specific things. When we got into exactly what that was, he was talking about their development, understanding like, do they know what's next? Do they know what to be looking for? Things of that nature. And it started to get me thinking about checklist mentality. Nothing wrong with making and managing to-do lists. I think it's a fantastic way to keep organized, make sure you're getting things done. It's an important piece of the business. I think having tasks in some sort of a scheduled checklist, I think is perfectly fine. So what tasks am I talking about? Typically, I'm thinking about anything that doesn't involve a person or an interaction with a person, maybe more so. When I have to check reports, when I have to check on systems, when I have to do things that are more in a system environment, I think that makes more sense. However, when it comes to leadership, I think you have to be very, very careful when it comes to being checklisted. And when I talk about checklists specifically, I mean looking at I need to talk to my people about their own development. I need to make sure I'm checking in about their family. I need to make sure I'm checking in about their well-being. It's fine to have meetings planned out. I have meetings planned out. I have all meetings with my people planned out and it makes sense. However, when I get to those meetings, that's where things get a little bit more autonomous. I don't typically go into these meetings with any sort of agenda. In fact, I want them to be able to bring to me anything that they have. Yes, I might have some topics to discuss, but typically when I'm looking at that stuff, I'm looking at it more from if we have time, then I'll get to it. I will also typically look at talking about those things before our one-on-one. I try to maybe do those things asynchronously. Maybe I can chat them up. Maybe I can talk to them. I work in a virtual environment, so it's very easy for chat, email, things like that can kind of come through. And so I typically will chat them up about specific things like that that I might need, or maybe it's housekeeping items. I think that makes more sense. And that way when we meet, especially in a virtual environment, it makes more sense to be able to have more of a conversation. And I think that lends to our relationship a lot better. When thinking about checklists, again, there's a lot of things that can be stifled when you put things into a checklist mentality, especially when it comes to people management. When we've checklisted things out so perfectly and a curveball is thrown to us, we tend to miss the mark. And that is why we have to be able to think on our feet sometimes. Again, it's not to say that you shouldn't outline tasks that have to be completed, but also it's important to be able to think about the unknown, what could happen. And I think it's still good to think about those things. And it's not to say you can't also be jotting those things down as they come up. Hey, you know what? What are the possibilities that could go wrong in this? What are the things that could go right when this happens? Maybe there's an opportunity for you to better prepare. But again, sticking so close to that can really reduce the amount of situational adaptability that is there. Now, when it comes to development, I think a lot of people tend to put a lot of that stuff to the wayside. We get focused on the task at hand. And so I do think it's important to be able to have those conversations. But I've been in so many different organizations where they have this rigid structure on when things happen. And it's not to say that it isn't a good thing to do, because maybe you aren't in that capacity where you're running things more autonomously. Maybe you do need a little bit more of a rigid structure. But I think when you have those things happen more organically, you're going to see and they're going to see a lot more value in it. And that's the important thing. I don't want somebody to look at this meeting where we're talking about their own development and have it be something where it's like, well, it was scheduled, so I'm glad we're talking about it. Instead, I want them to be able to say, like, let's talk a little bit more about what I want to accomplish. When those things haven't been brought up, I do challenge my people, because I definitely want them to be thinking about that a lot more than they probably are. And so typically I'll start the week off and I'll say, hey, this week, y'all, I'd like to really talk about your development. So when you come to the meeting, please try to be thinking about, like, what are the things that are stopping you from working on your own development? What are your roadblocks? What are the obstacles? How can I help you out? What other help do you need in order to kind of propel yourself to the next level? I think that's fine. But doing it like, this is the first of the month, I'm going to do it now, or, every 3 months, we're going to do it quarterly. It doesn't make sense to do it in that capacity so rigidly. Now, it's not to say that you can't have those checkpoints in place, but again, If you can do that when it's right, when it feels right, when it's happening more, again, organically, then you will accomplish a lot more with it because they will see the value in it. I think about a lot of the one-on-ones that I've had over the years with many different people. The one that really kind of comes to mind is I had gotten a new manager. Very first meeting, again, we had some good discussion. We talked about just some niceties, where are you from, family, friends, hobbies, things of that nature. And it was good. It was good. So I typically schedule an hour with each of my managers every week. With this new manager, we got through everything very, very quickly. It was interesting because our one-on-ones would last about 30 minutes. I don't want to keep them in an hour-long meeting if we've gotten through everything in 30 minutes, if there's nothing else to discuss. I value their time. And so if it's 30 minutes, it's 30 minutes. That's cool. But this manager, it was lasting 30 minutes for several months. The relationship that we were able to build turned that 30-minute one-on-one into typically 2 hours. In fact, I had to reschedule his time so that nothing was going on after his meeting for at least another hour, just in case our one-on-one went longer. And that to me was so valuable. To have our conversations go that long, to talk about not just like work stuff, but like meaningful conversations. In fact, we hit on a lot of topics such as like leadership, managing people, things of that nature. And it was interesting to see his perspective and my perspective, and for both of us to be able to feed off of each other and learn and grow together. And I think that's the important thing that I have found is that I have become a much better leader, not because of the mentors that I've had in my life, but because of the people that I've been able to lead. They have taught me such valuable lessons. And again, that is because I go into these conversations not with this mentality of I need to touch on this, and this. These organic conversations really have spawned into some of the fantastic relationships that I have today. When it comes to the people, I want that to happen very naturally. I do. And that's not to say that I don't write things down. When I have somebody that was out sick yesterday, I may not have that on the forefront of my mind. And so I will begin to like chat them up and I come back to that. I'm like, oh, I just wanted to see how you were feeling today. I know you were out yesterday. And so I just wanted to check to make sure you were doing better today. But again, that isn't me putting something on my list of saying, I need to make sure I check the well-being of my people. When you're looking at your people, that is where you have to be completely involved with it. I tend to think, especially in a people management perspective, that your people should be the things that are coming well before a lot of the stuff in your own job. Now, it's not to say the tasks that you've got in your job aren't important, but again, like when I'm looking at the people that I'm supporting, I tend to think once they're supported, they're going to be able to accomplish the things that I'm trying to make happen in my own day-to-day job. In most organizations, you've got a customer, you've got your employees, you've got the manager, and then that manager probably has other tasks that are involved with them. And that's not to say that those things aren't important, but when you've got the customer taken care of, if I'm not directly helping that customer, then again, my purpose is to make sure the people that do directly support those customers are getting the support they need to the maximum of my ability. And so that's when I'll take care of them the most. Doing this has netted me not only strong teams, but some of the strongest relationships that I've had in all of my careers. I can't tell you a team that I've ever been on and led that we haven't had this unbreakable bond because of the things that I'm able to put forth and as far as an effort is concerned. And that's why I think like these types of situations really can make a difference in not only your own career, but in the lives around you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, nothing wrong with having some sort of a checklist mentality, but just be thinking, are you leading with a checklist or are you doing that more naturally? I hope you found some value in this. If you like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps me out. If there's topics that you'd like to see covered, please also leave that in the comments below too. Remember to go about situations with an open mind. Continue to look for ways to grow, and I hope you have a fantastic day.